everybody. Thanks for joining. We have Eddie Mutryn ready to go here. So just please use the raised hand function if you have questions for him, and we can get this going. Max, go ahead.
Hey Teddy, first of all, just obviously you're not here in LA, but what was the experience like when you found out you got drafted? Was it a phone call? Were you just watching on TV? How'd you find out?
I was watching on TV actually. We had two TVs going, and one was a little ahead of the other, and I was in the room that was a little behind, so everyone started going nuts, and I didn't see anything for like 30 seconds. So I was like, it was kind of just freaking out. Just it was crazy experience.
Is there, that setup? I mean, would you want to just kind of be by yourself in case you got a call? How come there was a two-room setup?
We have like 15, 20 people here, so we kind of just split up in the rooms. It was kind of just random. I was in the kitchen like eating some food, uh, and that's kind of where the TV happened to be. And yeah, it was kind of random, but uh, everyone just started going nuts, and I was like just shocked.
Um, in your background, you're a Massachusetts native, and we know the Sharks have a lot of Massachusetts natives in their front office, and Doug Smith and Henry Throd and all these guys to see all these Boston area guys, the Massachusetts living guys. Is that kind of fun to come in an organization that's bringing in all these types of players from an area that you're familiar with?
Definitely, definitely. I think it's exciting. I get to see those guys get picked and have success. And there's obviously some pride being from Boston, being from Massachusetts. I think um, it's exciting to get to show the world and show the league what we can do. So it's a pretty cool thing to be able to get drafted by an organization with a lot of guys from the Boston area.
And the last one for me for now is just, did you have any idea, the Sharks maybe had you on the radar? What kind of conversations did you have with them, if any, and what are your thoughts about San Jose?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit. I talked to them a couple times, but to be honest, I had no idea. I felt like it could have been anyone. So I was kind of just like sitting there, kind of nervous. I was excited, but it was just like it felt like it could be anyone, which kind of made the picks like you're kind of living and dying by each pick. But that was it was awesome. And then San Jose is obviously an awesome organization in California, which is super nice weather. The winter's warm, which is unlike here in Boston, so it's nice.
Awesome. Thanks.
Ben, go ahead.
Hey Teddy, Shang Peng, San Jose Hockey Now. Congratulations. Can you just talk about who you model your game after?
Yeah, thank you. I like to watch Charlie Coyle when he's on the Bruins. Just the way he protects the puck down low and is able to make plays. I feel like that's kind of who I like to model my game after a little bit. I'm a bigger player, physical presence, and I think being able to use my size down low and create plays, create offense is a big part of my game. And then Chris Kreider too is a good player I like to watch. He's so versatile. He can play power play, penalty kill, whenever you need him on the ice, and he can score goals too. So I think that's part of he's a player I like to model parts of my game after too.
And I assume, Saint Sebastian, Boston Junior Eagles. You probably have met Will Smith before, probably know Mike Greer too. Just how much that familiarity just kind of helped you when you interviewed with the Sharks. That you just sort of kind of knew some of the guys already, I assume.
Yeah, I've met Will a couple times. He's friends with a lot of kids that I know coming from St. Seb's, and then Mr. Greer too. I played with his son Jaden actually my freshman year. Jaden was a senior, so got to know Jaden well, and he's an awesome kid. So yeah, I was just super blessed and fortunate that they took a chance on me and believed in me. So it's exciting.
And I talked about just the people who got you here, your family. You mentioned that you have like 15, 20 people there. Just were some of the most important people that got you here to get drafted.
Yeah, obviously my parents. I think all the money, time, energy they've spent into helping me play hockey and pursue my career. There's I hope I can repay half of what they've given me. And then my family in general, my siblings. I have three younger siblings. I think they all push me to be better, and I want to be a good role model for them. So I think um, trying to make them proud, I think, is also part of my why I push myself, why I want to be the best I can be and succeed. So yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Go to Dan Ruzanowski.
Hey there, Teddy. Dan Rusanowski, Sharks Audio Network. Just a quick question. Are you committed to going to BC?
Yes.
Tell me about just your decision to pick that program. A lot of opportunities for you in college hockey, but what was it that selected BC, and what do you expect to get out of it? Do you expect that maybe being a potential teammate for James Higgins is also an attractive thing?
Yeah, I think BC obviously is historically a phenomenal program. Um, I grew up around the school. My father played quarterback for BC. My mom went there as well. She played lacrosse. So I've kind of grown up around the school, going to football games, going to hockey games. So obviously I explored other options college wise, but kind of when I stepped on BC campus, I knew it was home. And yeah, I think obviously they always bring in a great pool of players. James is a phenomenal player, and they've had obviously Will was there, Ryan Leonard. They always bring in great players. So you're going to go there and play with good guys. So that's obviously a huge pull as well.
One thing about college hockey is you get to train 4 or 5 days a week, and then you play on the weekends. What do you think you're going to benefit the most by that type of a schedule, as opposed to something like, say, Major Junior would provide you?
Yeah, I think I'm a bigger guy. Strength's a big part of my game. I think being able to train and practice and improve my skills. I'm still a work in progress, so it's just the beginning, and it gives the opportunity to work on your game, work on your body as well. And then I also the 2 games on the weekend and less games in general. I feel like each game means more, and I feel like I play better when the stakes are higher, when the games mean more. I feel like that brings out the best in me. So I feel like that schedule kind of just benefits me.
Thanks a lot. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Hey, Teddy, this is Curtis Pashalka from the San Jose Mercury News. Congratulations, a special day, right?
Yes, it was unbelievable.
You just mentioned it there, but you kind of described as sort of a playoff type player. Does that kind of come naturally to you, just using your body, getting on the inside. Is that something you've always kind of done?
I think so. I feel like I've always been pretty big. I think this year was helped me more learn different techniques of how to use my body versus just brute strength, like raw strength, which has helped. But yeah, I think just when the game kind of gets physical and it starts to mean more, I think that kind of brings out the best in me. It plays to my strengths, I would say.
Like you said, you're kind of on pins and needles today. Is this about where you thought you might go? Maybe in the third round here?
Yes, I mean I had kind of a vague range of kind of third to fifth round, and um, I was just super excited. I like every pick was um, like I don't know, it's hard to describe because I was just so grateful for everyone that was here at my house, and it was just so awesome to have everyone there with me. Because I couldn't have done it without every single person here and all my friends and family and coaches. So just a surreal kind of experience. You work your whole life kind of
Yeah.
for this day, and it comes and it's like, whoa.
How many friends and family did you have around today?
Um, I've got like about 20 people, 15, 20 people here now, and then some more people coming over later. They're busy today with some work and down on Cape Cod, so they're coming up to celebrate a little later.
All right, Teddy. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, that'll be a wrap to Teddy. Enjoy a nice celebration today, and we'll see you in San Jose. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We have Max Heisa with us. Just like the last one, feel free to use the raise hand function if you have questions. We can get started. Max, go ahead.
Hello?
Hey Max, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
What is your initial reaction, right? I mean, just the Sharks are here. What's your initial reaction to getting drafted?
Yeah, it's pretty special. I was just sitting in the living room with my family, had the TV on and saw my name pop up. They were taking a little bit to make the pick, and I had some good conversations with them throughout the year, and just really exciting moment for my family and I.
I mean, your path to where you are now, right? Looks like you're going to go from the BCHL to the WHL, and from what I see on Elite Prospects, so bear with me if I'm wrong. Michigan State. Do you like the development path that you're on, and how do you feel that it's going to move your progress forward into possibly making the NHL?
Yeah, I think that, I'm going to Prince Albert next year in the Western League, and I think they do a really good job at developing their players, and then moving on to Michigan State the following year after that. They have a great track record. Nightingale and the assistant coaches do an unbelievable job there. So, I'm super excited to get down there as well, and then keep developing mixed.
Sorry, my internet is cutting out a little bit. Bear with me here. But just what do you know about San Jose and maybe the conversations that you've had with the front office? And do you know anybody inside the organization, whether it's a player, coach, front office member?
Yeah, so I actually played with Michael Fisher this year, so I got to know a little bit about the organization through him, and he says nothing but good things about the organization. So I'm just really really excited to be a part of it.
Have you ever been out to California, maybe the San Jose area? If not, what have you heard about it?
I've never been to the San Jose area. I know it's nice. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, so it gets a little cold here too.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ben, go ahead.
Max, congratulations. Peng, San Jose Hockey now.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask you, this particular season, you really seemed like you broke out with Nickton. What was kind of behind that breakout this year?
Yeah, I think just trusting myself and my abilities as well as my teammates. I had great line mates and great teammates that I was surrounded with, and I got fortunate enough to have a good year and be able to get drafted by San Jose. So I mean, yeah, it was a good year, great team, and can't thank Penticton enough.
Who do you model your game after?
Yeah, a guy I model my game after a lot is Matt Boldy. I think he's a long rangey guy that can skate well, plays a good 200-foot game, and can be relied on in all situations.
Was it tough last year at last year's draft to not get selected?
Yeah, I mean it's I didn't have as well of a year last year as I did this year, so I wasn't expecting anything too much. I more used it to fire me up a little bit for this upcoming year, and try and make a statement and get selected this year, which I'm grateful that happened.
What do you think the Sharks like about your game?
Yeah, I think they're getting a 6'3" forward that skates well, plays a physical game, and can be relied on in all situations.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations, Max.
Thank you.
Curtis, go ahead.
Max, hey, this is Curtis Pashelka from the San Jose Mercury News. Congratulations again on a very special day, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Like you mentioned, you're going to Michigan State here in 2026. Why was that the right decision for you? To go to college route after one more year in the WHL.
Yeah, I think with my body type, I need a couple more years to fill out and add some weight. And I think that they do an unbelievable job there. And Will Morlock, their strength and conditioning coach, is very high end. So it's I think it'll be a good step for my development path.
You think a lot of players, maybe 17, 18, 19 are looking at college hockey as an alternative maybe to staying in major junior?
Yeah, I think that you can't go wrong with either. You play in major junior, and say you're stud there, it's and you can make the jump to the AHL or the NHL even. It's do that, but if you need more time to develop, it's a great path to take.
I guess you followed along, the I guess the rules changing that the court battles in the U.S., that kind of thing. I guess you've been following closely along how that all developed, I guess, earlier in the year.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy year with all that. It was kind of cool to be a part of all that, honestly. And it's unfortunate enough I get to be able to go to the Western League for a year next year. And I've grown up watching the Hitmen and been around it. And my dad played in the Western League as well, so it'll be cool to play a year in that league before I make the jump.
So, all right, thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, last call for questions for Max here. Ruzi, go ahead.
Just a quick one. This is just for us broadcasters, Max. Is your last name Heise? How do you pronounce it?
Heisey.
Heise, that's what I thought.
Heisey,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, Max, thanks for your time. Thanks everybody for joining, and we will be in touch if there's any more news. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. We have Chris Morehouse here. If you have any questions, go for it. Go ahead, Shang.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Can you just kind of put in perspective today, the picks you made today?
Yeah, it was it was an interesting day. We really obviously we knew kind of having that first pick in the second round, kind of what our idea was. And then after that it's kind of you wait and see, have things set up on our board the way we wanted it. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of decisions, but I like how our day two went, and there's a lot of exciting pieces on the way.
Can you talk about in particular the decision to draft Simon there with the 33rd pick? Obviously, you have the first pick of the second day, so you had your choice of a lot of different players. So what made Simon stand out compared to the remaining class?
Yeah, I think raw untapped potential is probably the best way to put it with him. He's such a unique story in terms of his hockey background and his hockey upbringing. And then look at kind of the transition this year from starting in junior A and then moving on to the OHL major junior. You could see, slowly some of those just raw physical abilities really shine through. And for us, it's like Mike said from the very beginning, we're going to draft the best player available and the best fit for us. And when you look at what Simon could be in the future, and even where his game's been over the last, let's say 18 months, it's impressive. And we really believe there's a lot of untapped potential here.
Is it fair to say that with a guy like Simon, that maybe there are other defensemen out there that were, quote unquote, safer, but like you mentioned with Simon, just that untapped potential that he could be really, really special if it all comes together?
Yeah, I mean, the word safe is always, an interesting one. I think it's, for me, if you look at it, a guy that's 6'6", almost 6'7", and can really skate and competes and can use his length, that's pretty safe too. And if you look around the NHL right now in terms of who's playing, so in terms of yes, there's some raw, and it's going to take time, but all these kids are, and I think as long as we understand the human, which we do, and we understand what our process is for him, and we have such a fantastic development staff here that we think we make the investment that we feel comfortable, whether it's safe or not. We like the profile that's there.
And I want to ask you about three players in particular from the same team. McKinney, Mutryn, and Gallant all came from the U18's USA team. What stood out about them, their performance at their tournament, and just in general, those three American players?
Yeah, I mean, Mutryn played most of the year in Chicago, so he played with them at the end. He got called up. So there's, we obviously have some, we know Mutryn back. We are our area guys and Mike, and so we obviously have some knowledge there with him prior to it, and then with McKinney and Gallant, I mean, all three guys bring a high level of compete. They bring a high motor. Obviously, Gallant is on the smaller side in terms of what he's not 6'2", he's not 6'3", but I think if you spend any time watching him, he plays like that. So we've talked about all along. We want to bring in highly competitive kids, and although all three were taken in different spots, the one common denominator is that they're highly, highly competitive kids.
All right. Thanks for now.
Go ahead, Max.
Hey Chris, when it gets late into the draft in this situation, and maybe there's picks coming through, what maybe kind of goes into the situation of maybe picking a guy with the raw talent? How do you decide when you get this late in the draft? Maybe when there's a little more question mark surrounding the player.
Yeah, I mean, you're sweating it out, trying to. We have our board, and we obviously have certain waves we want it to flow and go. So there is a little bit of sweating it out, but again, we put so much preparation time in the last 9 months and getting our list right, our board right, and so we really are prepared for anything that happens. We have multiple options in place. If player goes here, what do you want to do? And sometimes drafts will allow you a little bit more movement in terms of, clusters of players. Other times you're afraid if you move off a player, then you're not going to get them your next time around. So I think we're always in conversation. We're always in dialogue with that, but a lot of the work's been done before in terms of where our cutoffs are, where we see value. And, it's really important for our group to make sure we just kind of talk things through beforehand because really 3 minutes when you're on the clock, it goes really fast, especially in day two where it's kind of running. So, we talk through it. And then when we get to that point, it's like anything else. We want our guys to have passion. We want them to push for players they like and they want to be a Shark. So that's what they did. And that's what we did here today.
And when you mentioned to compete in the way you guys scout these guys, I mean, it's kind of a wide ranging where they're coming from. Some are juniors, some are going to NCAA. How do you feel just the overall prospect and the landscape that it's changing as? Like you see all the stuff, CHL and NCAA. How do you feel that's benefited maybe some of these players in this moment when they're in their draft year?
Yeah, I mean, the one example right away would be like Max Heis. We draft Max Heis. His plan is to go to Michigan State, but he's going to go play a year major junior next year. I believe it's PA. It is I think the plan for him. At least is what I'm understanding. It obviously could change, but there's a prime example of a kid that didn't have that option before. So I think, I kind of mentioned this yesterday, a little bit in with Dan is that the kids have options now. They have places to go, but it's also, you're going to go through a period where kids are going to think that the grass is greener on the other side. They can go and get better somewhere else where maybe the situation they were in was actually pretty good to begin with. So, um, it's certainly changing for us because kids have more options and kids are going to want to do, what they want to do. I think our perspective is you just kind of take it as it goes. And I do think in general, you can now, there's little bit more ways for kids to really do get what they want. If it's a kid that needs more games, there's options for that. If there's a kid that needs more practice time, maybe needs more working out, there's other routes for that. So the landscape is going to continue to change. And I think right now, especially, the first couple of years is going to be a lot of figuring out what's going on. But then once things settle in, at the end of the day, it should be what's best for the kids. And this system in place should allow kids to really be where they think they need to be for their development.
And then the last one for me, just kind of an all-encompassing question maybe about yesterday and to today. I mean, the core of this rebuild seems to be pretty close to set. Obviously, a couple more moves to do and things like that, I'm sure. But just over the last few years since Mike has come in and you've, been part of the organization, right? How do you feel just the way this team is drafted and the direction of the team and the core? Do you feel like it's shaping up how you guys kind of envisioned as you go through each draft?
Yeah, for me, I mean, in term personally, from our staff perspective on the amateur side, I think we've set out to execute Mike's plan, and I look at it, I look at their job I've done, and obviously we're never going to know where things are, and it's 3 years in, and I'm really proud of the group. I think we have, in a short amount of time, been able to go out and get some really quality talent, some quality kids, and to your point, it's never over, and the next step is even harder than the first one in terms of, for us and on the amateur side of continue the expectation is we should find players every year and hopefully soon enough we won't be in these situations where we're picking one, two or high. But the expectation for me, for our group, and the expectation on myself is to continue filling the cupboards. And if we can give more players in terms of, high end prospects or find guys in the draft in the right spots, they just become assets in terms of trying to make your team better. So we are really proud of our group, and for me and the group of guys that work with me and work all out throughout the world, I'm really proud of us, but it's also, we're just getting started. We need to keep going.
Awesome. Congratulations on the long weekend and all the hard
Yeah.
work.
Thank you.
Curtis.
It's just kind of going off of that a little bit. You know, like you said, I mean, Mike kind of said it's the last time they hope to be drafting this high. So how important was it for your group to just make sure, like every year, to get the right guys and to make sure that these players are going to be fit long term, not only this year, but maybe this last couple of years too.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you I tell our guys at the beginning of every year, and certainly going to draft, is this is our one opportunity to impact the organization. We're not on the road with the team every day. We're not in the rink. We're not in San Jose. But trust me, behind the scenes, we are doing everything we possibly can to make a difference in the organization. And for me, in terms of where I've been before and now, with the way Mike treats us and how we all are all allowed to speak our mind and have an opinion, and the trust he puts in not only myself but our group, it's infectious. And you have a bunch of people that show up here wanting to work every day for Mike. So it is a really, great, awesome work environment. And when we get into these conversations and figuring out which way we want to go, to your point about not picking high, it's we want to find a way to find the best player. And in doing that, it becomes, we look at every single possible question we can, possible situation. We look at every possible player. We analyze everything. And at the end of the day, the decisions we make, whether it might make sense to some or it might not make sense to anybody, is we truly believe is the best decision for the team.
Were there any discussions about? I mean, you guys didn't move up or down throughout the last couple of days. Were any discussions about moving up at all, or were you pretty?
Yeah, that's more of a question for Mike, but in terms of, there was obviously lots of conversations, lots of situations, and again, part of my responsibility is just kind of sit there and if he has ideas in terms of value and where things may lay and what's coming up next for prospects. And I think at the end of the day, we kind of just stayed pat. And I think the last couple of years we made moves to move up or change, and I think this year was just one of those things where we sat pat and we feel like we did pretty well.
You mentioned how the landscape is changing, and then players now have the opportunity to do what they feel is best for them and their development. I mean, looking back, had these rules been in place last year, do you think a guy like Sam Dickinson could have really benefited from having that option? I mean, it doesn't seem like he can go back to the OHL, but it's the OHL or the NHL. He doesn't have that option to go to college. I mean, how much do you think having that option would maybe benefit a guy like Sam?
Yeah, on Sam, like Sam had 98 points in the OHL. He won a championship. He won a Memorial Cup. He was Defenseman of the Year. I think Sam was just fine where he was. In terms of, yes, ideally in a perfect world, having that luxury of being able to put guys in NCAA is a great option. I think, again, players develop at different times. Players are going to hit at different times. Players are going to peak at different times. And there's no way to say that if Sam was in college hockey either next year or this year, that it would be better for him than wherever he is going to be. So I think as we fill and as we go along, whether Sam's playing, he's playing 30 minutes a night in the OHL versus, 25 minutes in NCAA or 30 minutes in NCAA, I don't know if it necessarily affects Sam. Other players it might. So, I think it's, thankfully that's not in my hands. I'm kind of just trying to find the players, and then we have such a great staff with Todd and his crew and Mike that ultimately they're going to make what's the best decision, the kid and the agent and the family, and then we'll go from there.
Is your expectation that all the guys you drafted will be able to be at development camp?
Mago Med Sultanov, I don't think we'll get in time. Other than that, I haven't heard of anybody else not being in, but I don't believe Mago Med Sultanov will make it in.
What do you want to see from the picks and other guys in the organization too? Like, what do you want to see when those guys get to San Jose and get to development camp, get to know each other a little bit? And I mean, what do you want to see in that environment, I guess?
Yeah, well, you guys all have to write really good things about them all. That's the first thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And that's the first step. No, it's be yourself. It is summer hockey. I love the way that Todd approaches. It's come in, get your feet wet, get to know the city, get to know your teammates, be around the group, be around the coaches. We've talked about it a million times over. And even when I first came here, you don't walk into a locker room and you have Joe Thornton, Patty Marlowe, Mike Greer, Todd Marchant, Dougie Waite, Thomas Vanek. You have all these guys that are in our group that these kids have the chance to really be around, and that's exciting. So, just come in, get to know the group, look at the facilities, see where we're at. Meet your new teammates, and for I think if we're sitting there really judging them in terms of how they play and how they do in a 3-day thing, it's not fair to them. So it's really just to get to know the kids even more and have them come in and feel comfortable being part of the Sharks organization.
I think it's fair to say you touched on it earlier about just you know the direction from Mike and what he wanted to see. I think Richard Glenn is kind of one of the exceptions today, as being a guy who's 5'8", 5'9", or whatever. But is it generally speaking, you guys want to just add some size, just some some little more beef to the prospect pool here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it happened with Wang being as big as he is, but we still like the player. I think size is, you can see, you look at the trend around the NHL now, especially in this draft. There's a lot of big boys that were taken, and they're all big kids that can skate. And I think you're obviously trying to pay attention to trends and where things are going, but Mike also, if you also have to be able to play hockey, and you also have to be a good player, and you also have to do things. So I think we constantly are looking at everything. I never want to say we strictly look and focus in on one thing, because it's just not true. We are always looking at everything. And again, yes, Richard Gallant is not the prototypical, maybe what we've necessarily done last year, because we took Kags a couple years ago. He wasn't big on the back end. Richard's a little bit different than that as well. And, worked out with Kags in terms of what he's been able to do. And the one thing that Richard has that all these other big guys have, probably even more in a lot of cases, is unbelievable compete and relentless. And he's a rat. And, those are all things that's going to give that kid every opportunity, despite being the size he is, to play. So that's exciting.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
We'll go back to Shang.
Chris, I wanted to ask you about a couple players that we didn't really talk too much about. First one, I'm going to try to say his name correctly, Magomed.
Yeah.
What drew you to him?
He is very, very dynamic skater, and he loves to play physical. He's over 6'2", really skate. Not going to give you a ton, high end stuff with the puck, but make a first pass. And really, really physical. And I mean, he's got, in terms of we talked about passion and how our conversations go in a room. And that was one guy that we walked in and, talked to our group about, and everybody in the room had passion for. So, a little bit of a different one. He's a late birthday. Not maybe as much notoriety around him, but he's a skater, really can skate. He hits extremely hard, and he plays a lot of compete energy, and we're excited.
Is there a sense of when he'll come to North America, or you're not too worried about it? Just let him develop, and when it's time, then you talk about it with him.
Yeah, I don't think there's any, rush in terms of, we're obviously familiar with his contract status and things like that, but there isn't really any, rush in terms of getting him over here in a hurry and seeing where it goes. I mean, we want to see him develop. He got games last year in the KHL, I believe, BHL, MHL. So next step for him is getting himself established and playing, even more in the KHL on a regular basis and getting big minutes, and worry about the rest later.
But he is a guy that you think has excitement to come to North America at some point, or NHL at some point.
Yeah, I mean, we do our due diligence on him. We wouldn't have drafted him if we didn't think he'd ever want to come over. We just don't. A lot of times with those kids, it's, he's developing in a men's league, pro league over there, playing against men every day. If he comes over at, not when everybody wants, but he comes over and plays, that's what we want. So, I think it kind of see it's still, for him, we're letting him kind of enjoy the day, and then we'll get into all that stuff later.
And a couple of guys here, Sharp and Heisa, they're both overagers. Was that something that you guys were kind of looking for, maybe in the later part of this draft, that this draft's depth has been debated a lot, and so was that something you guys were looking for to kind of fill out your picks, some overagers that are maybe overlooked a little bit?
Well, I think it goes back to the same question you guys asked earlier about the landscape. We mentioned in the room think it was this morning, I said, really the draft isn't just, late birthdays and straight birthdays. Now it becomes, '06 is this year, '05 has become, the extension of their runway makes for more teams willing to take overage kids. It's a double-edged sword, right? You're a little bit more, if you take an older kid's been through a couple drafts, he's got 2 more years of maturity. You kind of know more of what his floor is gonna, sorry, what is maybe not left enough ceiling, as much ceiling left as some kids, but you have a better idea of what their floor is. And so I think with Sharp, he was coming to our camp. Scott Fitzgerald watched him a ton this year. NCAA he had a great year, really good skater, really good first pass. Went back Western Michigan, won. So we had him coming to camp, and the more we started talking about it over the course of the year and final meetings, is the kid deserved to be on our list and deserved to be drafted. So little background on him and just in terms of his skating and with Heisa again, this was a passion pick. Jaron Burke on our staff, Ryan Russell, they really like this kid and they went to bat for him. They've watched him for a couple of years. He went through, kid kept getting better, long rangey kid, developed in tier 2, now has a chance to go for a year, get better in the Western Hockey League and then go into school. So Michigan State has a good program. Again, looking at kind of what's their runway, where are they going to develop, and how can they get better? And both kids check those boxes.
And final one for me, and maybe you can't really answer this, or this is a Mike question, but it's from yesterday, and the fans are curious about this. You have Willie Mecklen's brother there, Victor. Maybe he fell a little bit. Was there any kind of thought toward trying to trade up to try to grab him, or is that something they can speak to?
Yeah, Mike will be able to give you that one better. We obviously we liked Eklund and it was just a matter of where the list was and how things went. But Mike will be able to give you a more in terms of that for sure.
And actually, I did want to ask a little bit about Cole McKinney, just an overall, second round pick, high pick there. So what stood out about his game for you?
Yeah, consistency, strength, face-offs, power. Maybe not necessarily comes in terms of being a highly touted offensive guy, but we really like the consistency of the player. He got better as the year went on. Really good on the PK, really good on the power play for the program. So there's a little bit of everything there with him. And I think just, he was one of the guys that once he got to that spot and we're like, oh, he kept kind of sliding. We were really excited to get him because, he brings the same thing night to night. The details are there. He's not he's not the biggest kid in terms of, being 6'3", 6'4", but he's 200 pounds. He's got a great foundation. Details are there. So again, he's going to Michigan, great development path. It's just kind of one of those things where we really like the idea and the profile of the kid. And now it's up to him and our development to make sure it gets there.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks so much for everything. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that it, everybody? All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the time. That's it for today for us. If we got anything else to announce, we will let you know. Thanks all.